I'd like to call this meeting of the Region 12 Board of Education to order. Good evening. Thank you all for coming. Turning to the agenda, Susan, you take attendance.
Yes. Valerie Anderson.
I am here.
Tony Bedini.
No.
Alan Brown. Absent. Gregory Cava. Absent. Michelle Gora.
Here.
Emily Hibbard. Not here. James Hirschfield.
Here.
Kelly Lott. Jennifer Pody. Here. Michael Sinatra.
Here.
I am here. Peter Tagley.
Here.
All right. So Kelly,
That's eight
Emily,
present.
Alan, and Gregory.
Thank you. All right, item 2, opportunity for the public to comment on agenda items. I'd just like to say something. Dr. Pasatino made me aware that there are parents present in the audience who would like to address the board, which is fine, regarding the letter with regard to the music program.
Can you speak up, James? We can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wanted to let people know that I was made aware that there are parents here who want to speak to us about the letter that went around regarding music education. We can allow that to happen tonight. It's not on the agenda necessarily, but I would like, they're all here. If there are people here, I would like them to be able to speak to the board. But we're not, I don't think we're ready to address it tonight, just to let you know. It will be on a future agenda, and we'll figure it out at that time. But for people who are here who want to speak, please do so. So, does anybody want to address us? Ma'am, just come up, state your name and what town you're from.
Hi, my name is Christine Meyer. I have a sophomore in the high school and I have an 8th grader. And I sent a letter to Dr. Cosentino, and I think it just details what our concerns are. We know that faculty and staff here at the high school and in the middle school have been working diligently to try to create a really great music program here at Shepaug. We've always been really proud of it and happy to have 44 or so students. Small, albeit, but a good one, a good program. Our concern is that our son, who is a sophomore, who unfortunately this year had to make a choice between band and foreign language, and we were told, and I think it's kind of what was hoped even by faculty and administration, we were told that the sophomores would be able to go to advisory, and that would be their band. Unfortunately, my son Martin, who is pretty much a rule follower, if he's told that he should be in advisory, he's in advisory, and is not necessarily doing homework during that time. He's doing whatever is necessary during advisory. When he was, he's been to band twice since the beginning of the school year. And so he's a performance kind of student. He's not necessarily taking lessons on the side, although he has done the strings project. And he's not going to school to be a music major, but this is his part-time love. This is what he loves to do. He enjoys to do it. And he does pretty well. He's first cello, first trumpet, or I think shares first cello, but there's people moving around all the time in the band. And so our concern is that advisory is not being used for that time. And I know advisory is being used apparently for really good stuff. So we're not saying that it's not being used for good stuff, but we're hoping that there would be a way to implement that. And also, and it seems like maybe one of the many solutions might be an 8-period day. It might be that there needs to be more time in the schedule, because we know that upperclassmen also are having this issue. Juniors had to choose between a foreign language and their band that they love. So now we've gone from about 44, and I'm guessing around 12 or 13 students now in band in the high school. So it seems to be impacting a lot of people. So the whole advisory thing is a great thing if it worked, but it's not really working, and that's no one's fault. It's not working, and we need to figure out a way to make it work, make something work. And the other piece to this, it's a very minor piece, but if students are choosing to leave advisory or to go to band during advisory, albeit, like I said, Martin's been there twice, I actually got in touch with parents when all of this was happening, and they were saying to me that they actually asked their students, their children at home, and found out that their kids hadn't been to band at all, and they were shocked. They didn't realize that. Part of the issue is that if Marty or other students are choosing to go to band during advisory, then shouldn't they be getting something on a transcript saying that they're committed to their performance? and they're committed to doing all of those things related to performance, and that's not happening either. So there's a lot of things swirling around. Again, no one's fault. I think that if we can just have an open dialogue about it and try to figure out the best way to remedy it, it would be wonderful to remedy it by January, like when we come back after Christmas. That would be terrific, that'd be awesome. And I know an independent study is an option. A side piece to this is that someone like Marty, who doesn't do athletics, and athletics are great here at Shepaug, but not everyone does them. And if someone isn't doing athletics, it'd be nice to have programs after school related to music, and that's not happening either. So I'm kind of one of those music moms who's trying to be a cheerleader for music. So that's why I'm
You do
here.
a very good job. Thank you.
Thank you. So,
Is there any questions for the lady? Any? Thank you very much.
you're welcome. Thank you.
Anyone else want to address? Yes, sure. Oh.
I'm Catherine Vikstrom. I'm from Bridgewater. I have a 10th grade son and a 7th grade daughter, both active in the music program at school. I wasn't really planning on speaking tonight, so I'll make it short. But I'll just say that my 10th grader, who for the last several years of school had band on almost a daily basis and really identified with it and was proud of participating in performances and pep band and jazz band and things like that. Now, as Christine had mentioned, has had a band opportunity maybe once or twice so far this year, and isn't really identifying with it as part of his persona at school. He's not an athlete, he's a performer too. And I think he really feels the lack of that in his curriculum. He's trying to fill things in. He's trying to attend the jazz program, which Mr. Molly is offering in the mornings. And he's trying to go to advisory when he can. He's trying to encourage his little sister to stick with the band program because it was important to him and he really likes it. But I think she also sees that it's not vital in his daily activity anymore. And I worry about that for her. I worry a lot about it for him, for someone who would play his instrument at home every day and would play at school every day. It's not happening at all anymore. And like Christine and a lot of parents, I think that the school could look for or needs to explore opportunities to put that back in their day. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Very much. Anyone else? Sure.
Hi, I'm Wayne Heilman from Washington. Likewise, I wasn't really planning on speaking here this evening, so I'll try to keep it brief. I'm the current president of the Shepaug Friends of Music, which some of you may know is a private not-for-profit organization that is made up of community members like folks sitting here tonight who go out and raise money and give it to this school through musical instruments, through scholarships, merit scholarships for students who have excelled in the performing arts at Shepaug, recurring scholarships for students who pursue the performing arts after they leave Shepaug in college. The soundboard in the auditorium was purchased by us. The microphone headsets that the kids use in the musicals we rent. I could go on. Over the course of our existence, we've probably raised probably close to $200,000, which has been spent here. And to hear parents now expressing concern and maybe in some cases even alarm over the condition of the music program here does give my organization a bit of pause. We are literally meeting tomorrow night to assemble our annual appeal. I just finished writing the letter as president before I came here, and I'm wondering if I have to rewrite it. I hope not. So I would just say that we are concerned. We have been a loyal supporter and we will continue to be so, and we are here to help. but we can't run the music program. All we can do is raise money and support it and do as best as we can for what we feel and what we identify as the needs. You know, in the past it was instruments. Maybe that's not the case anymore from what I'm hearing. Maybe we have enough instruments. Maybe we have too many. But if there's anything we can do, shepaugmusic.org, let us know.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else? Yes, sir.
Hello, I'm Michael Gora from Washington, and I have a daughter in the 8th grade, a daughter in the 10th grade. Both have been in the band. My 10th grader is in the same situation as Martin Meyer, where she had to choose between foreign language and playing her instrument. You know, last year she was chosen as a freshman to play in the Berkshire band, and this year she hasn't picked the instrument up. And so that's one concern, just to reiterate. But two, I'm also a board member of the Shepaug Friends of Music, and I understand that some of the children that are not playing in the band this year is a schedule conflict. But there are others that have chosen not to, and I don't know exactly what that reason is. But I think maybe also asking them and finding out exactly why they have chosen to drop out when there wasn't a schedule change. So I think that's also something, and I'm not going to speculate as to why that is, but I think that also needs to be addressed. And so, you know, like I said, like Wayne had said, the Shepaug Friends of Music is there to help. We can't hire teachers, we can't do that, but we have asked to meet with the department chairs. That has not happened. I do believe that has not been because we have been unavailable. So I also think that you know, we are there as a resource to help. So I think the department should use us. So thank you.
Excuse me, Mike.
Yes.
Surely the department doesn't have an obligation to answer you.
No, they asked me. They had approached. I'm sorry. They had approached us and asked, "Can you help us put a parent thing?" So I'm sorry. It was in response to
courtesy. They should. I answer you obviously. But I'm
Correct.
saying they don't have a
Nope. Understand.
civic obligation to answer you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. It was. We were approached first, and then
Okay. Good. All right.
went from there. So.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is there any questions? Anyone else? Dr. Gora? Yes.
We're aware of the problem. I did get the letter from a whole bunch of parents on Friday, and the agenda had already been done, and we had a full agenda. Had a meeting today for about 2 hours with Mrs. Gallo, Mrs. Ferreira, and Mrs. Files. We are going to have a board meeting in the next couple of weeks to try to see if we can work things out. There are a lot of issues at play, and I don't want to go into them right now, but Mrs. Gallo has talked to every student to find out whether or not they wanted band, they didn't want band. I think we have a plan in place for the future so that kids can make more informed choices on what they want to take and what not. Maybe we can move some of the kids to VHS for some of the classes. That's another issue. For the board, we have given you a copy of the letter, and we have given you Mrs. Gallo's report so far, but I do promise you we will see what we can do. I have to follow state mandates, I have to follow union contracts, so there are a lot of issues, but we are very committed to having a music program. I mean, that is very important. And I think our next presentation is also exciting in this area because the more students we can get here, the more opportunities we have kids to take different classes and hire more staff and all of that stuff. So I thank you, and I promise you we'll be in touch. We'll let you know when that meeting is, and you can certainly come in the audience, and you know, I'm sure the board will have an open dialogue at that time.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I can assure, I think
think
public
there may be
speaking
more
on behalf of the board.
Are there more people that want to speak?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were done.
I'm sorry, I just want to...
Yes, please.
Saw some distress there.
I'm Laura DeFont from Roxbury, and I have a son who's a junior, and he is, since 6th grade, has taken percussion, strings, and chorus. This year, he doesn't have any music classes. He is in advisory. He had to choose between honors trig and music, and we chose to put him in honors trig. So he did make that choice not to take the music program. But I just want to say that it was on the idea that he would have music still, and that hasn't been the case. And I just want to make a note that it's not just the sophomore class, and it affects the children who are very deep into the music program. And like I said, my son has taken all 3 music programs throughout the years, has been in all the musicals offered. And this year, the only thing he has the opportunity to do is to be in the musical, which he is. Thank goodness. So.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? I just wanted to say that I think I can speak on behalf of the board, which I don't like to do, but to say that I'm sure everyone on the board agrees. Shepaug has a long tradition of music history, wonderful music, doing the best we can, always having a band. The issue, I think, an issue I'm sure that we're dealing with is falling population. As the population continues to fall, there'll be less options for these mass type of programs that require large attendance of students. But we certainly are committed to it. Greg?
I do want to comment on this because it's not just the...
it's not on our agenda. I really don't...
I understand that, but I want to comment on it because, and if I have to stand at the microphone over there and do it as a parent, I'll do it. But I have a child who's in the band, who's a senior, okay, and this is another student who is not heading off in the direction like my older daughter of majoring in music. This is a student who's going to major in the sciences in college. But the fact of the matter is that this affects not just the children who are not in the band, but the children who are in the band. I mean, you've got 13 kids. Do you understand who that is? You've got one clarinet player, a couple of flutes, several saxophones, one trombonist, and 3 percussionists. That's not a band. I mean, believe me, there's trouble in Shepaug City. It's a capital T and it rhymes with B and it stands for band. And believe me, this isn't 76 trombones. I'm happy that we have one. But the fact of the matter is this is impacting kids. I think we need to have this on the agenda at the very next meeting, and we need a bloody report about, 1, how we got here, and 2, how we're going to get out of this mess. Now, I understand we cannot redo the schedule. We're already 2 months into the year. But what we can do is we can find the 2 or 3 things that are obvious that could be done in order to increase participation in the band, to make it available to the students who want to be in it, and to find ways to fix as best we can to limp through this year. And if we have to have the schedule posted to the board by June 1st, we're going to do that next year, but we are not going to do this again next year. We are not going to have people show up to the first day of school and find out that their world has been turned upside down. I don't care if it's a lightning strike. I don't care if it is lack of time. I want to know why we can't have a bloody schedule in front of us by June 1st so that we have time to work on these issues before we end up in this mess. And if we can't have an answer to that question, then I think we need to do nothing else until we get an answer to that question, because this is an outrage. This impacts these children's things, and believe me, I know these kids, and I've had the pleasure to work with some of these kids. I've written more things for Martin Meyer to perform at my church and other things than almost anything else, and I will tell you, these are phenomenal kids who, although they're not maybe necessarily becoming the professional musicians in the future, music is central to their life, and if we do not do something to keep that in place, we are going to be massively the poorer for it.
Thank you. Valerie?
Well, I appreciate people making their comments and Mr. Kava getting so emotional. But from what I'm reading, there is the beginning of a plan that the administrators are going to address. They have heard the problem. They've already done a survey to see where did all this go wrong, if it did go wrong. and how to remedy. And then I do believe, this is not as much as we like to hear from the parents, and we should, but now that we know the issue, we have administrators who can address it. And if they can't address it, then we'll hear certainly from people
It's going to be
again.
on a future agenda, yeah.
But at this point, it's an administrative problem that we're now aware of. But no, I don't think we need to see schedules
All
and
right.
start micromanaging, as long as our administrators are sensitive to the issue, which I think now they are.
All right, I'm not going to permit, thank you, Val. I'm not going to permit any further discussion on this. Let's move through the agenda. If we get to new business, if people want to discuss it, we can at that time. All right. Is there anyone else who wants to address this? All right. Moving on to item 3, the consent agenda. Is there anyone who wants to remove anything from the consent agenda? Excuse me. All right, then the consent agenda is approved. Report of the chair. Just a couple of things. I wanted to congratulate on behalf of the board, which we've already done, the Shepaug Boys Cross Country Team for winning the CIAC Class S Championship. Tremendous achievement. The boys are really great. So we should be very proud of them. It's a large program. For a small school, it's a large part of the sports program, and they do very well. Coach Tom Scarola and his team, so we're very proud of them. There's a lot of stuff happening, programs that we're going to hear about tonight in the program. So I've been working on that a little bit, but most of the staff has certainly. And that's it, so we'll move on. Go on to the superintendent's report.
Okay, we have a field trip. The Model UN is going, their group is going to Philadelphia on January 29th to February 1st. It's a group that really does great work with some kind of national issue in the Model UN program. So because it's more than, I believe, 70 miles, we need a motion to accept.
Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Passes.
Great.
Thank you.
So we have some really exciting news, and I'm going to ask Kim Gallo and her guest, Bill Davenport, to present about future plans for Shepaug. And really what we're just asking for tonight is the board's approval to move forward. Okay, that's where we are at this point, but I think it's really exciting on how we can bring students to our building, raise the level of rigor and engaging classes, and keep our school alive forever. I'll say forever.
It's a long time.
That is a long time, but that's what I'm going to go with. So Kim will introduce her friends.
I would like to introduce you to Bill Davenport from Region 14, who is the director of the Agri-Science program at Nonawag High School, just back from Nationals, where he won lots of stuff. And I went to Nationals with Bill 6 years ago now? Yeah. Yep, and one of the things that I noticed, other than the fact that there were 50,000 kids in that blue corduroy jacket, you can't even believe what that looks like. 5 hotels, all connected, it was amazing. Everywhere that I went, when I said I was from Nonawag, everyone knew where Nonawag High School was. And that was because of Bill Davenport and the Agri-Science program there. So Bill and I are starting to cook up a plot that would benefit students in Connecticut and especially at Shepaug. And right now, the working title that we're using is the Shepaug Valley Regional Agri-Science and STEM Academy. Why support this academy? Courses that are taught in this academy are directly aligned with advanced college degrees, and STEM careers are growing. And this is reordering my presentation, which is swell. Okay. Bill, can you talk a little bit about the kind of, first of all, Lori, who also was principal of Shepaug. Can you just name a few of the schools? Nonawag, excuse me, I'll do it a lot. Name off some of the schools that the ag kids were being admitted to when you were at Nonawag.
Stanford, Johns Hopkins, Tufts, Cornell, UConn Vet Program, William and Mary, Georgetown, many to WPI, Rochester Institute of Technology, Purdue. I'm trying to go around the country, but I lost my place. I mean, you get
Good.
You get it, yeah.
And Bill, can you just as briefly say a few of the careers that your Nanawa kids are involved in right now?
Have Bill come closer to the
Yeah,
podium, so
of
this
course.
way we're on
Of
TV
course.
and
People, sure.
all that
Of course you want
stuff.
to be on TV.
There's millions in my head. I've been there 29 years, but we have a food scientist at Gerber Foods out in Michigan. We have a USDA meat inspector out in Minnesota. We have a park ranger with the National Park Service down in South Carolina. We have at least 15 veterinarians across the country. We have a microbiologist that works at the Department of Ag Aquaculture Division on oyster production and research on the Sound. I could go on forever. There's just tons of success stories of all levels of employment after advanced degrees or after a 4-year degree across the country. So there'll be more later, but just to give you an idea of the kind of kids these careers these kids go into.
Thank you.
So what we'd like to do is just introduce the concept to you and hopefully gather your support so that we can begin to move forward. Who supports this academy? State funding offsets initial costs, and then yearly operating grants and that sort of funding is provided by the state for this type of a program. Sending districts pay tuition for their students and they pay for transportation. So it's a well-supported organization and it's a well-supported branch of education. Who attends this academy? More than 50 qualified students every year have to be turned down at Nanawa because there simply isn't the room. They don't have the facility to accommodate everyone. Nanawa supports 23 towns. 23 towns is too much. It's a large catchment area. So what we're talking about is to reach out to those communities and to divide it into a Western Division and an Eastern Division. We would be in the Western Division, they would be in the Eastern Division. And you'll have much more information on this. I'm going to share a document with you after this presentation tonight that gives you even more detail. So we would be doing a service to the many students that have a demonstrated interest in these careers, and we would be doing ourselves a service as well. A significant number, you heard from Todd Dyer last month, a significant number of our kids are already interested in STEM-related college majors and careers, and science careers. I believe it was 9 engineers in the last graduating class, that students that named a major were naming engineering, 9 of them, in addition to 4 or 5 more that named science. And Region 12 students would have the opportunity to access this high-quality program that prepares them for STEM careers. And we also would be interested in putting an exploratory option for our middle schoolers. As you know, because I talk to you about it a lot, what we want to do with middle schoolers is to have them explore as many options as possible so that they begin to learn about what a comprehensive education looks like. Bill has been working with me since for the last couple of weeks to come up with the beginnings of this idea. I've also been in touch with Harold Mackin, who is the education consultant, who's in charge of agri-science and technology programs for the state of Connecticut. The Shepaug administration, Lori and I both have the experience of having been at Shepaug, understanding what an agri-science program is. I did again, didn't I? I'll tell you what, why don't you say school?
We all know what you mean.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. We've had the opportunity to work in this school, and we know what agri-science does for kids and what that connection is. And the superintendent and our central office administrative team also are supporting us in this endeavor. These would be the proposed areas of study here at Shepaug, and I don't need to read them to you, but as you can see, they are high-end areas of science. When you start looking at plant science, it's more than just a little milk carton with the plant in it. Students in plant science understand what it's like to, say, put together a farm-to-table restaurant. They can make plans on that, and they can plan the agriculture involved in that. students that are involved in plant science and biotechnology are the people that put together your granola bar and make it healthy for you and put extra protein in it. They also design your vitamins. I could say many, many more things, but these are high-end careers and they are the future. One of the attachments that I have for you in the more extensive report shows you that the Department of Labor predicts that there'll be 9% more agricultural jobs by 2021. And these are high-end science, marketing, and business jobs. So if you look at those, at all of those different careers, there are business, research, and development opportunities in each of them for our students. Some of them we don't even know about yet, but our kids will. As you can see, the employment opportunities in the agriculture and forestry, in education and governmental services, but the bulk of the careers are in management and business and science and engineering. These are the careers that an agri-science program begins to plant a seed for, as it were. Our next steps is, first of all, tonight to garner your support to look into this endeavor for our students. We need to get feedback from selectmen and our Region 12 communities. We need to go out to the agri-science schools and begin to envision what our school program would look like. And then there is an application process with the State Department of Education that would need to be completed. That would need to be submitted. Bill and I met tonight with Lori, and we realized that in order to put this plan into place to use next year for the legislature to approve it, because that needs to happen, we would have to have that application in by June. We'd like to, Bill has reached out to national agricultural educators who are willing to come here and present to you in December, which would be a much more comprehensive look at the program. And as the months went on, as we move towards this application program, know that you will have facts, you will have figures, you will have commitments from communities that say, yes, we think that's a great idea because more of our kids will be serviced and we will comply with this Western and Eastern division. These are the sort of things that we need to do moving forward. I can tell you that having Bill's support means the world to me. And this is not just my opinion or not just because he's a very good friend of mine. He is the finest agri-science educator you will ever meet. So we have ourselves a rock star, and he's supporting us. And he's doing that because he's committed to ag and because he wants to service more kids. We have a slam dunk here that could create a stable population for years to come. And perhaps we could start talking about education more regularly instead of the sort of things that we've had to talk about for the last year or so.
Okay.
Bill and I are here to answer your questions.
Yeah, I just have a question for you. What is your vision for this? If it goes as you hope, what do you see? What is about the physical plant, the size of the program?
The size of the program, I would be looking at, bringing the first year, bringing maybe 50 to 60 freshmen into the school, and that would build so that you'd have freshmen and sophomores the next year. So you're looking at, if we could build the school, if we could put the addition on in 4 years and start then, you'd be looking at that very low point of our population, you'd be looking at having 4 classes and about 200 students.
At least.
At least, that's right.
And they, the state would build an addition to the building with state-of-the-art everything. And do you want to talk about the state's role in that?
Sure, yeah, yep. Just to back up a little bit, I've been at Nanawa for 29 years. In the last 10, I've been the director, and part of my job is to go out and recruit to these 23 different towns, actually come to your auditorium and pull some Region 12 kids to our school as well, because the option is
But they don't all get in, because you don't have room for them all.
Exactly, that's
Okay.
the dilemma. So the biggest thing I face every year is I'm the one that interviews these kids, and I'm the one that knows in my heart that 2 months later I'm going to have to say no to half of them. And anytime you have a kid excited about a career, and I think middle schools in general have to hit more on the careers, because I've seen too many kids, not in our program, get done with high school, have not a clue what they want to do, go to college because everybody else is going to college, go to the wrong college, major in the wrong thing, change your major. I mean, the stats are out there. The amount of wasted money in school and school debt that happens because kids really haven't figured out what they want to do. And the earlier you can start tapping into their interests, or at least narrow down things they don't want to do, the better off those kids are going to be. And I've seen it firsthand happen. And the problem is, just for example, I went to New Fairfield 2 weeks ago, and I spoke to the whole 8th grade, and I brought 45 applications with me, figuring, you know, they probably used 10 or so, and the next day they called, they needed 20 more. Okay, now this is one town out of 23 towns, and we can accept 60 out of district freshmen next year. And you're 65, yes, they probably won't all fill it out, some of them will chicken out or decide not to, but let's say a third of them do. There's 20 from one town, and we have 22 other areas to service, and it's, the agricultural careers are there waiting in our state, and all these businesses are going out of state to find people trained in those careers, either 2 years for 4-year school or 8 years for vet, whatever the case may be. You have the careers wanting there in the industry waiting for kids to graduate from these programs and then further college, and then we have the 8th graders who want it, but we're saying no to them in 8th grade, and it's just such a disconnect that I've been fighting with the state, saying we need to build another center, and that's the whole problem. We have 23 towns, there's 19 regional centers. In the 50s, they regionalized the ag programs. There used to be 40 or 50 high schools, including New Milford, Newtown, Woodbury, a bunch in the area that had small ag programs, and they smartly, actually, for one of the first times in my career of listening to the state politics and everything, they said, you know what, let's regionalize them and make them really the first magnet schools. It was the definition of magnet schools, where the state would fully equip 19 regional centers and have towns send kids to them as a part of that comprehensive high school, but take this as their elective for their career-based interest. And that's how it started. And when they did that, it just happened to cut out a huge chunk of 23 towns that came to Woodbury. And that's the problem. Every other center has the most 10 or 11 towns. So we have huge amounts, and we do a pretty good job of educating them, and the kids want to come there, and we're saying no to half. And for years, whenever I go to these schools, I'm always asking, is there any chance you guys would want to host a center? And the place I thought of first would be Danbury area, because it's farther south, and there's a ton of kids in Danbury, 3,000 kids in their high school alone. And I talked to 2 different middle schools, there were 400 in each, 800 8th graders. I mean, incredible. But the problem with Danbury is it's landlocked, no place to add on, and they have 3,000 kids in their high school already. So for them to start attracting more, it just doesn't work. And I've asked a couple others, not really formally gone to a lot of them, but just bounce it off them, and I never get a, yeah, we'd be interested. It's more like a, that'd be nice, but I don't think we could ever do it here. And so over the last couple of years, I tried to think of some other place, and I actually thought of, I live in Litchfield, so I see the papers, and I know the dilemma you guys are facing, and actually had thought of Shepaug as a possibility, but then I'm like, I don't know if the state would actually, 20 minutes, 15 minutes away from another one, actually invest in that. And then actually, Michelle Gore and I was sitting next to Michelle at a soccer game a couple weeks ago, and we just started kind of thinking out loud, like, I wonder if the state would. And then Kim got that answer when she called the state, and he said, oh my God, I've been waiting for this, yes, because all they need is someone to say, we're interested in becoming the 20th host school. And then what would happen is we would talk to the towns that send kids to us and basically make a geographic divide, the 10 or so western and then the 13 or whatever eastern ones, and then that way those 60 kids we say no to would not be denied the opportunity. That's what I'm really after, is finding a place where we can have these kids that I see when I go out to recruit that really want this badly, help them out with their school of choice. And it just makes total sense that if Shepaug would consider it, it might be stability for you guys in the future, to have a mechanism that's already there in place. You don't have to go try to create a new arts magnet or something else. It's like, we have the mechanism, there's already applications on file at the state. This is how you start a new center. You have to get agreement from at least 2 sending towns to say, yes, we'll send kids, and then you can put the application in. The state has, right now, it's an 80% reimbursable grant for construction or equipment. And I can promise you that I know if they know we can build a 20th center and take care of this need, they would put it back up to the 95 or 100% with some legislators helping us for this one time just to get it started. And then from that point on, it's 80% for any equipment upgrades, any grants at all. The state takes care of that because the regional program is serving more towns. That's the bottom line. So, yeah.
Greg.
Do we need to approve any funds to move forward with this, or just just authorize you to move forward with it.
That's right.
I'd like to make a motion that we authorize the administration, in particular the principal of the Shepaug Valley School, to move forward with this proposal. Now, before...
Hold on, is that your motion?
That's my motion.
Is there a
As
second?
the superintendent, not just the principal.
Love the
The
administration.
superintendent, the principal, and the administration. That's what I, yeah.
Seconded by
move forward
Mike.
with
All
it.
right. Go
Now,
ahead.
before we declare you and Pat the Madison Bumgarners of Region 12 here, I want to ask a question. Is there a reason not to do it?
I cannot think of one, Greg.
Good,
I
done.
truly
Thank
cannot.
you.
Valerie?
Well, but I see in 2012, there was a real funding problem. And I just want to know, I mean, how committed is the state to this in general? Because there was I guess you made an impassioned plea to the governor. There was $750,000 that was thrown more in the pot, but it seems like the funding for this, unless there's a real change in attitude, could be problematic. But you're pretty assured?
Yes, for 28 of my 29 years, I've been going to Hartford saying, what is the problem? Why is the state only giving $700 per kid for this school choice program when $7,000 per kid goes to magnets and $11,000 goes to charters and $12,000 goes to VOTEC? So I've been arguing that forever, and I've moved that $700 up to $3,200 now with all this work over the years. And there are enough people up there that finally get it, that understand that this is viable careers that are our state, and that the kids, obviously there's interest, and if they move ahead with the 20th center to take care of these kids, the funding is, I already have a meeting in 2 weeks with the chief financial officer up at, in Hartford, Kathy Dempsey, who came. I got her to come to our legislative open house, and so she saw firsthand what these kids and the parents and the graduates and the employers all say and see what happens. And so I have a meeting with her and with a couple of state board of ed members to again push that so that that 3,200 keeps growing, and then the sending town tuition is relaxed more, because that's what happens right now. The regional magnets, which are what we're most similar to, 2/3 of the cost is taken care of by the state and 1/3 to the sending town. Okay, in ag, it's the other way around. It's now up to 1/3 state pays and 2/3 sending town. So that's what we're trying to do, is bring it up to equal, at least equal to the magnet schools. And I have a lot of support to do that. And we've gone from 700 to 3,200 in the last 4 or 5 years. So it's creeping, but it's going in the right direction.
And the funding itself has been stable. What Bill's looking for is better funding.
Right.
Yeah.
So understand that when he's there fighting, he's not fighting
keep
for
it.
the initial dollars or to keep the initial budget. He's fighting to make it better.
Okay, and then to follow up,
Please.
would this would be called, what was your title for this, Shepaug Valley's?
Regional Agri-Science STEM
Okay, so
Academy.
we wouldn't be an adjunct necessarily to the Ellis Clark.
No, it's just the 20th Regional Center.
Okay,
Yep.
and then one more element of that was STEM. Now, you don't do STEM at
Well,
Nonawa.
we don't call it STEM, but if you talk to a lot of people, ag is STEM. It's the best, the most perfectly matched career area that takes care of all science, technology, engineering, math. Everything is part of that. Some people even want to change the name to STEAM to put the A in it,
Yeah.
but it's definitely nationwide. People realizing that, wow, the ag programs, that's STEM, all in a nutshell together. And so that's why that is becoming, any of the newer ag centers across the country are latching onto that as part of their identity and offering more rigorous, high-end, STEM-based classes and
Would
curriculum.
that change our application process, that we're going more STEM than agriculture?
I don't think so, because right now we get all levels of kids coming to our program. And so the high-end kids are getting that, and then the kids that are going to become a landscaper or landscape architect are getting what they need. And it's really, STEM doesn't mean it has to be the high-end kids. Every kid will benefit from learning STEM and maybe be inspired to do something different too. So it's all inclusive.
And we have such a demonstrated interest here in engineering and in science.
Right.
That the
It's a
STEM
natural fit.
piece is a natural fit.
Excellent,
Right.
excellent.
Michael, thank you.
Very exciting, so thank you for all the work you've done already. And I guess my question was, if we became the 20th center, are we looking at becoming kind of a mirror image of the other 19 in terms of what you envision? Or is there room within the VOAG program for kind of a specialty at certain centers around the state.
Right. Sound School down in New Haven, in Bridgeport, since they're on the coast, they specialize in aquaculture. They're, $40 million facility. They have boats that go out with kids onto the Sound to do studies. I mean, it's unbelievable. So there are certain areas in the state. Trumbull is more of an science high-end. So as long as you're offering ag education to all the students, you can specialize in whatever area you have kids interested in going. And that's the exciting part of this is it's something new, and I think we can draw those kind of kids to really start making our own niche, if you will, within the ag world to really feed into some of those high-end careers that they're looking for.
That's great, and I guess as a follow-up question to that, part of the process of building the program here, I would imagine, would be looking for those partnerships with local businesses.
Correct.
Because we have so many
Yes.
great restaurants,
Yes.
farms,
Yep.
we've got a vital agricultural heritage here. And so I would assume
Right.
we'd be looking to make those connections.
Yeah, we already have.
Part of the process.
Right, and it's already, because this is one of our areas of service, every ag center has an advisory committee. So every town, ideally, at least 2 people from each town in the ag businesses or career areas meet with us 2 to 3 times a year on our advisory committee and direct us on curriculum direction, grant items, help us find placement for our students that are the work experience component that we have to do. So I already know, I've grown up in Litchfield, I know 1 million people in these 3 towns through the ag connections, but we also know it through our schools connections because we have people like, there's a lot of people in these towns that actually serve on our advisory board. Elliot Davis from Washington, a bunch of people around here, D-Bowles are involved. There's a lot of people around that know and support and have hired our students already. So it would just basically be taking them and sliding them off of our advisory committee and sliding them onto yours, because now they would represent those towns that would eventually send to here versus Woodbury.
Would we be looking at a larger region then, since we'd have 2 centers now? You mentioned 23 towns. Would we be looking at towns that previously you couldn't service because they were too far west or south?
Not really. It's basically, we have 23 towns, which I had a map, that's all in the next information, but basically from Danbury and Fairfield and then all the way down to Ansonia, Derby, up to Region 14.
Okay.
And if it's sort of like a pear shape, I guess, if you will, you slice it down the middle, and then Woodbury and Washington and Woodbury are at the top end of that pear, and that basically the western towns of 10 or so would come up to you. And obviously, kids who are already at Woodbury, it would be grandfathered to finish up, and it would start the freshman, so it wouldn't be we're pulling kids. It would just be over a few years. This center is now existing. These towns will, starting in whatever year it is, freshmen from that point on will go there and be transported there and everything from those towns versus coming to Woodbury. To be able to serve more of them, that's what my goal, number 1 goal is to have more kids get into this. And we have an interest, so, yes. Oh, no, I'm shocked. I shouldn't call, I'm sorry. Sorry. Too much of a teacher, sorry. Although my kids never raise their hands.
The whole thing is so exciting, and thank you so much for working so hard on it. I think, and obviously I support moving forward, because all we're doing moving forward is continuing the process and learning. But at the next presentation, as I was trying to figure out, this is not, I'm not very familiar with the curriculum. So, and I went to Nanamog's website and I couldn't really find the courses and stuff. So I would love to know more about the curriculum, because I was thinking about the students who are here already in the building who might not be a declared agri-science person, but might want to take a class here and there, but I don't even know what those classes are.
Right.
And I don't know how many are required, and so so how the whole curriculum works would be really wonderful. And then the other thing I was wondering is, that's a huge, that's almost, well, especially at that point in time, potentially doubling our size. And if the state builds the new agri wing, whatever is required for that, those students still need to take gym and
math and science and
Spanish and French here. And so I guess just having a sense of how that would affect the Shepaug core, and whether we would need to expand either facilities, faculty, just having a sense of how that all works would be helpful.
We can totally do that, yep.
Sure,
This is
thanks.
all details that we can definitely do. I can tell you right now what the curriculum is. That freshmen come in just give you my spiel I give all 8th graders, that freshmen come in and do an exploratory, a little bit of everything, and in sophomore year, they're able to choose 4 of the 9 major areas we teach to kind of a little more exploratory, but with a lab, so they have a little more time and really kind of dive into it a little more. And then junior and senior year, they actually major in one of those 9 areas, and we actually have 10 or 12 colleges in the Northeast that give our students 6 credits of college credit when they leave for what we can teach them in the junior, senior level, because we go into so much depth. So if they go on to pre-vet, they don't have to take the intro animal science classes at UConn, they already get the credit for that because we've done it, in forestry, whatever the case may be. So I can definitely get you the curriculum and all those details pretty fast.
Thank you.
And we just replicate it for here and improve it.
Jen?
So excited listening to this, and my wheels are turning. So there's just a couple questions
Sure.
you give me. So for the students that live in Woodbury, do they automatically get accepted into the program, or is it still an application
Well, they apply, but I mean, unless they are
So
not
is there-
ready for the 9th grade, obviously the host school, because the key is those kids are already in the building,
Yeah.
so they already have a math and
So
English,
there's
so
an
it's not a burden.
additional 50,
Please.
an additional 50 that you
There's,
look outside? or is that-
yeah, right now we have 345 in our program, and 225 come from out of town, and 120 are Woodbury Bethlehem kids that choose to take it along with their regular high school. So every year we have about 30 or so middle school kids who come up, and most of them end up getting in unless they, they want autos, and we just don't teach autos.
Right.
Something like that, they should really,
So
really
they
think of that.
automatically have the
Right.
opportunity to
Exactly,
enter the
because it's
program
there, and they're
because
already there, and they're not
That's terrific.
making the Nottawag have more science and math and English because they're already going to be there. It's just the out-of-district numbers, they have to hold it because then they would have to add on for the high school numbers, and
Right.
that's why they give us that 55 each year.
Terrific. And then there's one more question. I know you had said 4 years, so I'm just trying to think worst case, best case scenario in terms of when this would,
I'm
I mean, if everything went beautifully, which-
Okay.
I'm just-
Last week I was out
Ballpark.
with 55 of our students among 65,000 we're up to now out of that convention. And,
65,000.
It's crazy, but so every free second I had, which wasn't much, and my head was turning about all this stuff, but I would envision, if everything goes well, that if we can get everything together and an idea, so June 30th you apply,
Yeah.
and then the bonding commission of the legislature for the next session would take it up as any school project gets done, and they go through the list of yes, 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 no, whatever, and then they approve that, so that July 1 of 16, you would get the approval to go ahead and architect and start it. And so it probably would take a couple of years.
Right.
The fact that it would be outside and not like doing anything disrupting the school, it would be not like you had to only work in the summer, you could probably get cranking through it. So I would guess by the fall of 18, I'm just guessing, and again, I'm Mr.
we
Optimism.
won't quote you, don't worry.
Yeah, so I just think if all goes well, and the state's response is awesome, because all our department head meetings we have with all 19 senators are always like, we need to do something, if we're not serving all the kids in this area, what are we gonna do? So this just all came together as an ideal opportunity to serve the needs of those kids in your future for your numbers, and I bet you might have more room in the schedule for music if you have more. Just thinking, you never know. I mean, it's a constraint, as you know. It's numbers, lead, options for kids. We have 800 at our school, and our kids are so lucky. 95% of them get every class they want because there's enough sections and enough bodies, and as we know, that's part of the problem. So.
Excellent.
I've spoken, just to add, to the superintendent of Region 14 and Region 6, and they both are absolutely in favor of us moving ahead with this. And once we get the board to just say move forward, then I'll contact some of the superintendents on the west, New Milford, New Fairfield, Sherman, Brookfield, Bethel, Danbury, Newtown, and see if I can get their letters of support.
Well, you better bring us Bethel.
Well, I think I might.
Yes. And go ahead. I'm sorry.
My quick question is really doesn't bear on this at all, but I was just curious. Wamogo is one of the 19?
Yes.
Okay, so luckily it's not anywhere interfering with them at all. It's simply filling in what has been on Nottawag's plate.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, because they're north of us, and they take care of Thompson Point, and
Right.
they have their own 7 or 8 area.
Right.
Perfect.
Which is exactly why Dr. Cosentino reached out to Region 14 last week as a courtesy to say, this is what we're working on, and the superintendent was in favor of it.
Right. And just one more thing I wanted to just mention, you said about going to those schools. Danbury, I guess this year, has a brand new middle school called the West Side
And I'm
Academy.
best friends with the principal.
There you go. All right, well, I'm going there on Wednesday to recruit because I went
That's
to
right.
the other two schools in
You tell
Danbury.
Frank I said hi.
I
and I'll
will.
be in touch.
And they told me, oh, you know, there's this third middle school and it's a STEM kind of thing,
Yeah.
and it's such a natural fit for those kids if
Sure.
they're sorting them out already
Right.
in eighth
Absolutely.
grade, and from ninth, then they'll go into Danbury to hopefully have some STEM. But I mean, it's just, I can envision that being a place where you guys would have quite a lot of kids looking. And last year we had, I think 7 or 8 come from New Fairfield and Danbury that were in that STEM academy back when it was at the other middle schools, who are now at our place in Love and Life. And those are, you know, high-end, dedicated, devoted, awesome, motivated kids who just want to make it happen, and they're okay with that bus ride because every minute is worth it once they get into the program. So.
Okay, let's move it.
Well, Susan, I'm sorry.
If you could clarify a little bit, I'm understanding the wing, I'm understanding the financial commitment on the part of the state. Tell me about the staffing. That's a separate staff to teach this VOAG program. How big for the number of students?
There's a
What
state
would that look
guideline
like?
of 35 students to each teacher. So we have 10 agri-science staff in our program, and 345, or, you know, close to that. So we'll be 360 next year, hopefully, if they'll let me take a few more in, kind of thing. So it's a guideline that, because we also work throughout the year, every student has to have a work experience project. They actually work for a veterinarian or at a horse barn or at the state parks or whatever they're interested in, and they get 200 hours. They accumulate 200 hours, which counts towards 1 credit of the 2 that they get for our ag class with that outside experience. So we supervise those, go on the SAE visits all summer. So we're employed for like 32 days beyond the school year. So it's kind of a year-long program, open sort of year-round, and a lot of summer programs we do as well. So.
And those educators are certified in ag.
Right, it's just a certification. So our students take English, math, science. They have a comprehensive high school, which is the beautiful part of these programs, is that a kid can have all of those other experiences in college, in high school, comprehensive high school, sports, music, whatever they want to do, on top of the classes that they'll take for whatever they're going into, plus the added benefit of this career-based focus elective that can set them up and make them ready to go on their way.
All right.
In what I hope is going to be an approved, motion to proceed with the study, which I'm absolutely in favor of, I think part of it I'd like to see is how do we, if we're receiving tuition and we have additional expense to have a facility, to have bigger staff, how do we not give that tuition over to the towns? That stream now goes to the towns. And so that's something that I'd like to see, how do we stop that faucet?
How does that work? How does that work in other
He's got
words?
friends in the legislature.
Valerie, we'll do that right after we do the fire
Change
meeting
the law.
portion.
Because, I mean, this is great, but then suddenly it dawned
I
on
get
me
you.
about the tuition, and we have the expense, and the money goes to the
Well,
towns.
what the tuition
devil
does
is
is
in the
lower the
details.
net cost to the towns to support us. I mean, you can't hold it, but you get it back because you're lowering your net cost at the end of the day to the town. So you get back, get it back. It's just,
Your
it's
lips,
mechanics.
God's ear.
It's
Well,
mechanics.
remember Bob served in Region 14.
It's true.
So he actually
is
has
aware.
lived this. He's
Right.
not speculating about this, he's lived it.
Yeah, it's true. Thank you, but I'd just like to see that financial section discussed.
And I built an ag center.
I have
built-
just a simple question.
Great.
The VOAG program, does it require farmland? Or
I was just telling,
got it.
I was telling Kim that I know, Henry Ferentz, the Border Show, all these people are close enough so that if we wanted to have almost like a satellite plot of land, I guarantee that some of them would make that available, but I think you guys have, I guess, more opportunities for expansion here than, say, Danbury High School is landlocked, I came to a soccer game here, my 7th grade daughter, and I went out to that. I finally found the field they were on. And I'm like, I didn't even know this field existed. I sat there in my chair watching the game and looking up like, hey, there's Henry Ferentz's place. There's Warrior Sharks. And I just started thinking, wow, what a site for an ag center. It's awesome. And it's just such a tradition here too.
I'm sure we'll get to it, but Is it required? Is your
And
students,
a good agri-science program, you
Yes.
need to have kids out.
and is yours on location, on site?
Yes, ours is, yeah. We have about 8 acres down below, plus some woodland that we use, some pasture.
Okay.
at our
Greg?
place.
I was going to say, as somebody who owns land that has been farmed, I can tell you that the worst possible land is what they reserve for the animals. And this property has got it in spades. I mean, you've got, it's not that it's bad, it's that it's not where you want to put a building, but it's perfect for agricultural
Yep.
uses. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, there's playing fields, you know, I don't know, okay.
Yeah.
There's a motion on the floor, is there anything further? And it's been seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstained? Thank you, and proceed. Look forward to hearing what.
Just one quick thought to leave you with. We recently put up new greenhouses, 2 new greenhouses, or one with 2 sides, aquaculture on one side and hydroponics on the other. So our local food production class is growing lettuce that is served in the cafeteria. I mean, think of the opportunities, and that's only, we have 800 kids we can ever feed. We can't grow that much lettuce in that one greenhouse, but just think of the opportunities going forward with the whole local food. I mean, it just, this could become
Maybe after the
something.
holiday, we can have a visit to your school.
Yeah, oh, there's no question. We get to
Okay, great.
Yeah. And I'd recommend we go to a couple ag schools to
Excellent.
see ideas and really get things together. So.
Perfect.
Get to work on the bacon and the tomato too. with them.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
so much.
None of them called the pork chops I have known.
Okay, so our next presentation is Ann Baldwin, who is just going to talk for about 10 minutes about, we met this week, about future plans and the importance of us all getting together for a retreat, and I'm hoping, it's under 5.5, but I have here, we're hoping for December 13th. Go ahead. Which is a Saturday, if it's, I know, from 9 to 11. We'll see what happens, but go ahead, Ann. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. Good evening. First of all, I would like to thank this board for having the confidence to bring me on board to work with you. You know, it's not a good thing when you've got public relations people sitting in here, and I'm bouncing off my chair already just based on that last presentation.
That's great.
And we already do some work with some of the schools that you're talking about partnering with. That's great. And we just came from a meeting at a distillery that's going to be opening in town that's going to be making high-end bourbon from farmers' wheat. So maybe there could be a collaborative, you know, see, it's all this connection thing that I'm thinking of. So how exciting. And I want to also introduce Michelle Peters, who is here from Baldwin Media. And I won't get into all Michelle's background, but she'll also be playing a great role in helping us spread the good news. And I only hope that the headline tomorrow in the media is a good one, because if I could write it, I would say, great news for Shepaug schools. That's what I think it should be.
Yeah.
Right? No, it's not up to you. It's up to the editor. But you know, this is exactly what I'm thinking of, and just these conversations going in the right direction. And you know, you talked about the superintendent and I had the opportunity to have lunch last week, and she gave me, you know, a lot of what I already knew, but she also told me some things I didn't know, with the 3 strategic goals being curriculum, technology, and declining enrollment. Well, let's take that word declining out of the equation, which I think once this program comes to fruition, I know that things are going to improve here. So I really hope that that does move forward, and I can sense from this board that, you know, it's really, they call it a no-brainer. So again, to my point here, you know, our goal is to, I believe, you know, for this program to kind of, it doesn't take much selling, but to educate people about it. Too bad there aren't more parents here in this room tonight that felt the excitement and you know, saw that presentation, but that's the reason that we have to take the message out into the public. I also believe that there's going to be some work to do, as I call it, up at the big house. I'm not a lobbyist, but those folks know me up there as a, you know, an ally when it comes to education. So if there are certain people that we need to talk to, maybe we need to get some kids in the program up there to have a little rally and a press conference, whatever it is, to raise awareness about, you know, this program and why it would benefit. And I think the other misconception is that people think that, you know, these programs are still milking cows and baling hay, and they're not. They're really 21st century skills, and as we heard from that presentation, the jobs are out there, and they're waiting to employ kids right here in Connecticut, so it would be great if they came from here. So with that said, I guess my next plea is really to this board. When I was given some dates by Debbie to meet with the board, it was January, February, and with all due respect, I appreciate that folks are already busy and have commitments, but really step one for us has to be on the same page as a board, to develop those key messages, to make sure that, you know, internally we're good and sound and we know what we want to really get out there and talk about, and make sure that we've got that cohesiveness. So if I could urge you, I know Saturday's tough and we all have holiday obligations and things, but if you can make that time, it will be great professional development for all of us to really get a sense of priorities and get out there and get started. I don't want to wait until January or February, with all due respect. So if we can do that, also establishing a communication protocol. How does this board, how should you be communicating? And what is that communication process going to look like moving forward? I'd also like to get on board with that. And also, you know, one of my goals is to take some of the nastiness and the disrespect on behalf of some of the naysayers out of this equation, and make sure that your voice of positivity and productivity is louder than theirs. So I really want to, you know, get that going and get that resonating out there in the community as soon as possible. So again, I do request that if the entire board can make it, that would be great. Again, those dates we're talking about now, that Saturday. Michelle and I are also going to be back here on Thursday morning. We're going to be touring the district. I want to see the different programs, the different schools. I'm going to meet some of the administrators, because we can't be effective if we're not truly a passionate part of this team, and that's what we want to be. So it's going to be great to really see in person and meet some of the students, like I said, some of the teachers, who knows what we'll see. So we're doing our due diligence, we're doing our homework. It's been a short period of time, but we're already getting started, we're eager, and you know, just I can feel the energy and I can feel the compassion, and I know that good things lie ahead. So I'm hoping that we can, again, get some agreement on a date soon.
Well, the date that had previously been discussed was November 24th.
Right.
Kind of took it off the table, but actually it's back on the table. That's a Monday, November 24th at 6 o'clock. Could we do that?
Okay.
Or around there?
Yeah, it's the Monday before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I like that better.
I like it better.
I like it better as well. I mean, it just, wait, November 25th, you mean?
No, 24th, the Monday.
Monday. We always meet on Monday.
We meet on.
That's I fly back at 8 o'clock that night. I thought you had said the 25th.
Okay,
no?
so what about the 25th?
I can't do the 25th.
You can't do the 25th. This is what happens, yeah.
25th? How many people cannot do the
Well,
25th?
if Carver can't make it the 25th, that'd be great.
December 8th?
What, December 8th is the next available Monday.
It's the 8th, I'm not here.
She's gonna be in Hawaii.
Yeah, I wish.
Sure.
I'm not going to. I just can't make it.
All right, what about the 15th?
See, that's what,
We have a meeting with you.
well, you know what?
We hate to miss anybody, but only missing one those are pretty good odds, if you're okay with that. I mean,
It's up to Greg.
there's always going to be somebody that can't make it someday, right?
Okay, see what happens.
Would you mind if we proceeded without you? Or would you like?
We have a board meeting.
Well, I'm at it.
What, the 24th?
No,
Or the-
No, 25th.
What about
25th.
December 2nd?
The 20
December 2nd, Tuesday.
I would prefer to be there.
All right.
December 2nd's good.
Good? December 2nd is Tuesday? Put December
can't.
2nd. You
I'll
can't?
put that on there.
You can't.
I've got a firm meeting, I can't.
Okay. December 3rd?
I could make the 3rd.
3rd?
I can do the 2nd or the 3rd.
Third?
We have to do the 3rd.
That's a Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday?
What time?
Not
7?
good?
6.
This is what happens.
I know.
And then there's 4 people not here.
We're doing live doodle.
All right, well, we don't have to do this during the course of the meeting.
Yeah, okay, we'll work on it. Right now,
I
try to
have
make it
forwarded to
December
Debbie all the dates that I'm available, but
Okay.
again, if I could just reiterate, I apologize, that I just
We
won't be
want
back
to try to
down.
get unanimity to go.
Pardon?
Yeah.
We want to try to get everyone there. That's what we're
Right
trying to
now,
do.
we're doing December 13th unless I get people who can't make it, because right now, everybody can make it here.
Okay.
Can't make
No.
it.
Oh, you can't make it?
either. No.
Saturday, the 13th?
No.
Oh, you can't make it? Oh, okay, never
I'll have to
mind.
get back.
We'll get back, we'll talk tomorrow.
All right.
Thank you. Is there any questions for the lady? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ann.
Thank you.
Okay.
We're gonna do it by email tomorrow, and everybody's gonna answer Debbie's email tomorrow. We're gonna do a doodle. Okay, please.
Yes. Tomorrow you're gonna get a doodle, please answer it,
What?
so we can get this done. All right.
I can make any date.
Send it early.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yes. No, not this meeting.
Okay.
Friday.
You'll send it early.
Right. No,
All
this
right.
meeting Friday. Sorry.
Can we move on with the committee reports? Education, Michelle, any?
Yes, so our next meeting is November 17th, and on our agenda, we have the math curriculum for the K-5 coming, and I had multi-H on my agenda, I'm not sure if that's happening, but I have a request to the board members, so please just think about this for a minute. When Teresa was reviewing her schedule, she realized she hadn't had any elementary teachers present in a while. And when she was talking to them, because we had been talking about the math curriculum, there was a lot of hesitancy on their part. They are nervous to come before us, and we don't want that. So what I'm asking, I want to try to implement a new sort of procedure, and I just think about this carefully. So we really want to hear from our staff, because they are in the classroom with our students delivering curriculum. We want to hear their perspective. We want to hear what they are seeing and observing. But we're not there in their direct line of command, okay? And it was not their decision to choose that textbook, that standard, there are many decisions that we often might have issue with that fall at an administrative or higher level. So if we could not interrogate our teachers and make them feel uncomfortable, but save those questions, Teresa has promised me that she, as director of curriculum, and the administrators directly involved will come back the very following meeting, so that if you want to know why the child or young person at the cash register can't make change for you, or you want to know why they're not reading this particular book, you can save that for the administrators. So please just think very carefully about the questions you ask our teachers. Go ahead and ask them how the curriculum is going in the classroom, how the students are responding, if there's something that they need that we could, it's okay to ask questions, but just remember that sometimes we start moving beyond what their purview of what they had a choice in, and it's not really their place. We don't need to put them in the hot seat. We really want them to come and present to us, because that is how we really get a sense of what's going on in the classroom. Okay?
If I may, thank you for making us aware of that we shouldn't, our staff shouldn't be fearful of coming before the board. Certainly agree with that. Valerie?
Well, no, I don't understand, because they're paid professionals. I mean, I would assume that we would not be rude. And I just don't understand in the moment if we have a question. I mean, we certainly have grilled, not grilled, but we shouldn't grill, but we have asked specific pointed questions of other staff members, of high school and middle school teachers.
And we're not trying to prevent asking relevant
Why the
questions.
elementary school, may I?
Sure.
1 second.
Yeah.
I think just there is a lot of these people were there for that infamous multi-age situation that happened a couple of years ago in the auditorium, and they are very nervous about that, and they carry that nervousness and anxiety with them.
That's
so
crazy.
Well, you know what? Not everybody is as resilient as me and you.
I guess so.
So
No, that was parents speaking to the board.
I don't think that was it. It must be something else.
All right.
That's what I heard.
That's fine.
There
Thank you, Michelle.
have been some other times. I don't want to discourage anyone from asking questions.
No.
Just please think about not only the tone of the question, but is this appropriate for the classroom teacher, or do I have a beef with you know, the curriculum in general, and Teresa says she will field all of those questions. So just think about whether that's an appropriate question.
You mean I'm not allowed to?
Hold on. Greg?
Is it an appropriate question to ask, since we have heard from so many parents that they really do not understand this math that you're teaching, do you find that it's a challenge not to have parents able to reinforce the lessons at home because they don't understand the concepts, because they were taught entirely differently? Is that a fair question, or is that a question that's going to cause people to go out in tears?
Well, I think the concept is certainly fair, because there's an issue there, and so if you want to ask, you know, how do you handle the parents that don't understand what their students
Well, no,
are doing?
it's not so much on handling the parents. What I'm concerned about is whether the kids are at a disadvantage because they do not have parents that are largely able to reinforce those lessons the same way that my parents and your parents were able to assess those lessons because they had learned similar concepts when they were in school.
I would first ask her if in fact she found that was the case.
I think it's actually moving back, the Common Core is bringing it back to what we're more familiar
Well,
with.
you're probably right about
So-
that. Okay.
I just think that, you know, Michelle's trying to make the point that we need to be extra sensitive.
Right.
We all know, I think we'd be disingenuous to say that we don't have a lot of high-powered people on the board who are more than comfortable cross-examining witnesses. And I don't think we want that approach or that tone with our elementary school teachers in particular. And Valerie, they're not paid. It's not in their contract that they have to come before us. It's in Pat's contract that she needs to contact us, and I'm sure sometimes she'd like it out of her contract. But they have no choice, and they're doing this out of the kindness of their hearts. They're actually, I assume an administrator like Pat has asked them to come, and we need to treat them with respect. I know that we would, but I think we need to kind of keep that in mind, that we've had a rocky few years, and people don't just wake up every morning having forgotten all that past, so.
Hold on, Jen.
I think also too, just being mindful, we don't need to challenge them. You know, I mean, really, they're here to teach us something that they're doing with our children or the students. We don't need to challenge them, really. That's not the purpose. So for me, I just really am interested in listening to what they have to say. And if there is a challenge, then I think that what Michelle's saying is right. And then that's something that we can either talk with Teresa about,
I mean,
to really.
You can ask an intelligent, challenging question.
But
Certainly.
there's a difference between asking a challenging question and challenging someone. And I'm just saying that you don't want to challenge a teacher coming to present when they're here to do something out of the goodness of their heart.
Well, if I understood Michelle correctly, so that we'll have the presentation, and then at a subsequent meeting, we will then ask Teresa for some specifics.
If you have doctrinal questions.
If you have questions
about structure.
Yeah, if you have questions about the curriculum, if you don't understand what the students are being taught, it's just in the past, and not just with multi-age, but with math in the past, with the humanities in the past, members of the board have really challenged the teacher on what is being taught. And I just want to remind everyone that very likely they did not have a choice in that. So if we don't like that, we should bring that up with Teresa or Emily, Kathy, Pat. So, but please go ahead and ask questions about how the curriculum is being delivered, how it's being received by the students. Their day-to-day delivery of curriculum is what we're here to ascertain. And please ask questions about that.
Can I suggest then we do a part A, part B, that they make a presentation, the teachers. I don't know if there are any
Students are coming.
Because frankly, of course, we don't want to do anything in front of children, you know, in terms of questioning their elders, God forbid. But if they gave us a presentation, and then we say, thank you very much, and they leave, and then the administrators stay for our comments and our concerns. Because obviously, that would be, I think, a more immediate, more intelligent way of doing things. And because there are kids here, we don't want to question what they're learning in front of them.
Agreed.
As tempting as it might be.
Well,
All right, well, look, we don't have to decide the structure of the meeting
Okay.
right now. You'll take her
Just,
suggestion. Is there anything further?
yeah, we talked about that. Let's just try it this way for this first one and see how it goes.
And the agenda will be, this will be on what date?
It's November
17th?
17th.
Yep, 2 months.
Do you have anything else, Michelle, for education?
Nope, not for education.
Any questions for Michelle?
Thank you,
Education Connection.
We have a meeting on Thursday that I'll be attending, so I'll let you know next month.
All right,
What
thank you.
happens. Sure.
Facilities, Greg? anything?
Yes, the Facilities Committee has met. We spent quite a bit of time going over the Shepaug renovations and discussing those, and we're in the process of working up a new list proposed of items that are absolutely urgent to go forward. And in addition, we are also seeking some information on the costs of some of the items, so we can have a better cost estimate. So when we come back to you, the figures are even tighter than they've been in the past. So that will be the goal. We should be able to do that in the very near future.
All right, thanks, Michael.
Greg, I would assume that almost every single thing on your needs assessment list right now would not be impacted by any future plans to put in a VOAG program here.
Well, you know, we had not considered that at the time we went through this list. Obviously, we'll have to take that into consideration, but I don't think anything's going to be negatively. In other words, we're not going to build something that then has to be torn down and rebuilt.
Right.
I mean, one of the primary focuses we have is on rebuilding the science labs that we have here now. Now, the VOAG program might add a whole wing
Additional
of
science
that
labs.
kind of thing to the program. But I don't think that it's going to mean that what we have is something we will regret having updated and modernized. In fact, it's going to probably go hand in glove with that. But obviously, we have to be concerned if the state is going to pick up the tab of 95 or 100% of certain costs. We would want to make sure that we didn't go down the road of buying something now we'd rather buy later. Because it would be more useful for the type of program, and it would be designed better to fit with the program. We don't want to avoid wasting money, I agree with you.
But we're not going to stop going forward with what you got planned because of this thing over here.
No.
All right.
No.
Is there anything else for Greg? All right, thank you. Finance, Valerie? anything?
Yes, we met prior to this meeting, and first off, I want to thank Michelle and certainly Kim for what seemed to be somewhat of a chance conversation that you had with Mr. Davenport. And of course, Kim's experience over there at Nonawag to come to such a great concept. It's wonderful. Thank you, Michelle. So finance, we met, and at this particular point, we have 6.3% or $1.361 million sitting in our budget, which tracks. And we had a reconciliation. There was a question about the elementary, the lease account, the 1%, I'm sorry, not the 1%, the elementary capital non-recurring account, the lease money. And we have now, after netting out projects paid for, projects coming forward, it's very fluid, $334,965 to finance any projects that need to come up. So basically $335,000. So that was a very important bit of information that we will give to some community members as well that are interested in that. What else did we discuss? We're going to go over the Wells Fargo pension plan and get more of a strategy and an understanding and review what we have and where we want to be in terms of the pension plan, but that won't be until February.
And again, for those, that's for the non-certified staff. Certified staff has the TRB retirement.
Right.
So non-certified, the region provides it. Go ahead.
And Bob provided us information about decisions to appoint Anthem as our provider for life insurance and LTD renewal, in which we can save somewhat around $17,000 a year in our present budget. And let's see, We have not done anything on the electrical generator, I'm sorry, Bob hasn't set the electrical generation contract yet because things are a bit fluid and not necessarily advantageous right now. I believe that was it.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Valerie? All right, thanks. Negotiations, Greg.
Before I go on to negotiations, I want to mention there is one thing that's on the agenda tonight. The facilities is passing on to you for your consideration. It's number 8.5, and we'll talk about that more when we get there. As far as labor negotiations go, we're currently involved in active negotiations with the Shepaug Valley administrators, and we expect to conclude those negotiations hopefully sometime during November, and we will be negotiating next, sometime early next year, with the custodians. So that's sort of where we are at this point. I'm sorry?
And the clerical.
And the clerical, and clerical as well. So we'll have those other two unions next year, but we're right now for administrators, and that's where things are.
All right, thank you. Policy, Michelle? So would you have on the agenda?
we have quite a few policies on the agenda tonight.
All right, you've been obviously very busy. All right.
Yeah.
I'll explain, Mr. Brown. Right?
We appreciate it
Yeah.
so much, Michelle.
No one
Really do.
Yeah,
Been so busy.
Well, I kind of wish I was about 18 years older, and so that I had like big bushy eyebrows and horn rimmed glasses that I could look over and say things like, Ms. Gora, as chairman of the Long Range Planning Committee, I would prefer that if you were going to come up with ideas to change the long range plans of the region so greatly, that you would bring them to my attention first so that our committee could take credit for it. But she didn't.
So you have nothing.
We have been focusing. We have been focusing on the viability of Shepaug.
I think it's called,
Now.
I think it's called a slam dunk. I think that's
Yeah, slam dunk,
Good.
exactly. Thank you for taking care of that. We still have to worry about the viability of the elementary schools, though we can focus on those now as opposed to, we were really starting with Shepaug and dealing with our long-range plans for Shepaug and with the upcoming referendum, how to support that. It seems like that can be tied up with a little bow now, and we really can focus on the fact that even though this incredible agri-science plan will help Shepaug, we still need to take care of the other schools that eventually feed Shepaug regionally. So we'll just change plans, and we'll be working on that at our next meeting, which is next. Our next meeting is November 17th.
Okay, 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock?
Yes, 5 o'clock. Thank you.
I would just say that, although there's a lot of details to be worked out, and I haven't made any final decision with regard certainly to what's been presented tonight, I don't see how that could do anything but help the primary schools. If that program existed, that would draw people.
So they wouldn't have to take the transportation out of
I would
the
think.
district. Yeah, exactly, of course, yeah.
Could make this one of the premier
All right,
systems.
thank you. All right, we'll move on to new business, 8.1. Michelle, why don't you take over?
7.1 first.
No, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you skip it.
Please, I'm sorry, 7.1,
It's a
second
small
reading.
one. All right.
3240 tuition fees. Is there a motion to approve 3240?
So moved.
Second by Jen?
Yeah.
All right, it's moved and seconded. Michelle?
All right, so 3240 is tuition fees. The only thing that was struck was the last line to make it consistent with the other policies that we had previously passed regarding out-of-district students, and nothing has changed since the first reading.
There's a motion to approve this for a second reading, which has been seconded. That was your motion, right, Bill?
Yes.
All right. Anything further? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, it's approved. Next.
All right.
0521.1A.
What?
What?
Oh, no. Sorry. Go ahead. You go ahead.
How about I follow the agenda?
Please.
I'm all in. 5118, non-resident, non-tuition attendance. This one is actually coming back as a first reading, even though we saw it for our last meeting because the board wanted it to go back to committee. So you'll see the changes that we made. Non-tuition is highlighted in yellow because we added that to the title to differentiate it from our out-of-district attendance policy, which I think was 5118.3 or something. Number one was the area that we had the most discussion about, childcare in the district, and we struck relative and sister and sitter, and I was already moved on to parent. Anyway, and added guardians as sort of the only scenario that seemed to make sense to the committee. We struck 4 and 5 because those were covered in other the new policy, or they didn't make sense in this policy. And for the last paragraph, we just decided to keep it simple, going with non-resident attendance agreement because of our other new policy. And that's it.
Is
It's
your
pretty
motion to
short.
approve this for a first reading?
So approved.
So approved.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Anything further? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any approved? I'm sorry, any opposed? Any abstained? All right, it passes for a first reading. Thank you, Ms. Sanders.
All right, 2400, this is evaluation of administrators and administration. Included in your packet were 2 policies. The one that's in Word, that doesn't have the little cave symbol up in the left-hand corner, is our current policy. The one that is a PDF that says CAVE Policy Services over in the left-hand corner, which will be taken off. We didn't, I guess, have a Word document for this one this time. That's the one that's being proposed. This is coming before us because of the policy audit. This is to reflect the new legislation on seed evaluation, the state regulations for evaluating. So it's compliant. Our administrators didn't see any issue with it, so I would just propose that we take CABE's language as proposed in this, and so obviously the little symbol would come off.
Yeah, I have a question. Superintendent is happy with this CD policy?
What did you say?
With this CD policy?
CD?
CD, S-E-E-D.
Oh, CD. I didn't understand what you were saying.
It makes you, I was making a unfortunate
Yes,
bad
we are-
pun on the CD.
Yes, okay, yes, we are good with this policy.
She doesn't get it. Is there anybody else?
I get it, I just didn't hear.
Jim, what do you have to get to tonight?
I know.
He's like, yeah, you
I
were
get
saying,
it.
there's gotta be a
Yes, Giants and Colts.
No,
No?
Cut
Okay.
everything.
I just want to be sure the superintendent is
Yes, we're
100%
good.
happy with
There's
this.
definitely-
This is the way you want to evaluate your building.
Well, this is the way the state wants us to, and our administrative team has worked very hard to make it work for our administrative team.
Is there any wish that you have in here that we could put in that isn't in this policy?
No.
What do you
No,
want to
no
pick a
wishes.
fight with the state for?
No, I just want to make sure that
No, it's fine.
We're in the middle of negotiating a contract.
right.
I'm trying to make sure that we're all happy.
The administration's got it done. We don't have a motion
Move
to approve for a
to
first
approve
reading.
for first reading
There's a
policy. Second.
Thank you.
2400.
Okay. So you have a
Right,
first and
moved
a
and
second.
seconded. Is there anything further? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstaining? All right.
But by the way, just to make sure for the
First
record,
reading.
that was 2,400 A in lowercase a in parentheses.
The one that's been approved is one that says CAVE Policy
Right.
Services
Right.
on it.
Right.
Good, good.
And
For
when we
first
come
reading.
back for a second reading, it'll be cleaned up to look like,
Yes.
And it'll be back.
It looked like it wasn't just stolen.
no,
from
A is
Dave.
just a page number.
We plagiarized.
No, we'll pay for it.
The other one's paid. The other one-
Yeah, I know. we have it.
Sometimes I know, sometimes you don't.
All right, fine.
The A's
All
have
right,
it.
next, policy 1411, law enforcement officials.
Well, which one is this? 141?
1411, so this came before the committee also as part of our audit cleanup, and had, it needed new language. So we got the CABE's recommendations, and we had our administration look at this. I know Matt Karachi looked at it. Kim, did you look at this as well? And then we waited, we were going to do it last month, but then we waited for a new SRO to have the opportunity to read this as well. So, forgive me, I am not exactly sure which, I'm pretty sure the yellow
Well, some of the yellows.
Cape made recommendations.
Yellow is new.
Yellow is new, well, but was it new from Cape or new from the administrators? There were both of those, and then there's that one green one, which I think is the SRO's suggestion.
Yes, the green is SRO, yellow is new from CAVE, and then the administrators and us are the strike-throughs.
Okay.
Because some of the things we took out because the administrators realized there is kind of overarching either regulation or state policy or police policy that made language such as preferably the officer doing the questioning will wear civilian clothes, and language such as the administration shall maintain a written record of all such interviews. These things, as it says in the line following, this is all number 2. I'm sorry, I should tell you where I'm reading from. There's 3 items there, and I'm using these as an example. In number 2, the language that remains is students will be questioned by police in such cases in accordance with the law. The law covers all of these things that we struck out, which is why we struck them out, if that's clear.
And the only other thing I want to point out is on the second page, the second paragraph, it says alternate position. That was supposed to have been taken out. You choose one or the other. We asked to have that struck, so that alternate position should not be there.
It's in italics,
It's in italics, but
that's what's going to come up.
We'll fix that for the second reading.
All right, is there any questions?
There's a couple of typos in here, so I think it just needs to be cleaned up.
Greg?
Yeah, I want to move that we accept this for a first reading. However, I want to move that we accept it with the alternative provision on page 2 in it. And with the green provision in it as well.
Green is from the SRO.
Green is from the SRO.
Green is to stay.
I don't know why we feel that we should release students.
I can't imagine it happening almost except in any one of these situations.
I cannot imagine why we would release a student to an officer who did not either present a warrant, a court order. I mean, when you look at the items that are in here, these are basic rights that are there for the protection of people and people's rights, and I don't see why they're viewed as so burdensome, and I think that we should have a policy that respects these people are students, yes, in a school, but they also have rights as individuals, and I have a problem removing the alternate provision. I think that should be in there in place of the paragraph ahead of it.
In place of, not along with?
Well, look at what the first one says. It says the decision to call the police and request an arrest is within the discretion of the building administrator. Well, nothing changes about that. Who's going to call the police? Well, just wait a minute. I mean, the principal may request the arrest of a student, or there are times in which the police may request to pick up a student due to a warrant being issued for his arrest. Well, the second thing says that. If the school principal agrees to assist in the arrest, the student should be escorted from the class. Well, this is all fine stuff.
All right.
But the second thing says
it gives the staff some guidance.
You're not the second one gives the staff even better guidance, because it says at no time do you release a student if there's not a warrant, a court order, he's been arrested or she's been arrested, or that's a protective custody resulting from a child abuse investigation, or there's the permission of the parent. And I think those are important provisions. If somebody thinks that that's less protective than the first paragraph, I'd like to hear why.
Well, they're talking about two different things. The first paragraph is about the initiation. The second is about allowing the student to leave the campus, and you're not going to do that unless, I agree with you. They can both stay in as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I don't understand why it's an alternate provision. Is it an additional provision?
It's talking about two different things.
I agree it's talking about two different things, but I think the alternate provision should be in there. So I want to amend my motion to say to include the alternate provision.
All right, is there a second to the
I just want to clarify, I don't ever remember seeing CABE use the word optional. I think alternate means use it or not. It doesn't necessarily mean use it instead.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Usually they don't
There's
say
a motion to approve this for first reading with the language of the alternate position included. Is there a second?
And the green language.
Well, that's just to show
as presented. Is there a second?
Well, can I just, how
Is
would
there
that,
hold up, please. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded. All right, thank you. Valerie.
well, how would that read then? Just the next paragraph starts at no time
Yes,
will?
yes. Yeah.
Yes. And it won't be in italics, it'll just be
Right, it
part
won't
of
be
the
in
policy.
italics, and you'll strike the words alternate.
And once again, principal agrees to assist. I mean, this
I
is
know, I
gotta be
saw that
cleaned
too. I mean, sorry, we missed that.
There are a few other areas. I think that's very important to restate, that these are the only conditions that a kid will be
agreeing
released
with
to police.
Greg
I think that's
again.
very important.
Twice this year.
Stars are in the line.
Well,
What's he saying?
if I may, I'm reading it again, the alternate. At no time will a student be released to an officer. Now, I at first meant that to read leave the campus. We could put in a cruiser and drive away. But what about release to an officer to go into that office to speak to him? Is that being released to an
Well,
officer?
releasing,
Or not really?
no.
Okay. Well, it may say.
I think released means released from the,
Well,
maybe in the
it should say
custody
that.
of the officer.
Maybe it should say that.
Well,
Kim?
Just so you know, students are never interviewed by the police without either their parents or one of us with them.
Okay.
Regardless of their age. If you're in my building, there's going to be an advocate with the kid when they're with the police.
All right.
That's just the way it is.
I think that's probably the law, too, is it?
It's not.
It's not?
No, but it's been the law in any school I've been in. That,
Right.
as far as I'm concerned, that is what in loco parentis means.
Yeah, I mean, I always thought a minor had to have.
So their statements
The
are not
parent part is the
admissible in
law.
juvenile court
The
unless
administrative
they
part is
consult
not.
with them when they make the commission.
The parent part is law, you're right. The administrator part is not.
No, the administrative part is not, no, I understand.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to admit it for first reading as the alternate position, language included. Is there anything further? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained?
Can I ask you
Passes unanimously.
another question? Has this policy been, I assume this policy has been reviewed by
a team of lawyers.
a team of lawyers, including people with criminal
Comes from,
defense?
well, did it come from Kate? Yeah.
It'd be nice to know that it's been
Vincent
reviewed
Mastaro.
for compliance with
Right.
criminal law.
Yes.
I'm sorry?
Vincent Mastaro from Cave is a lawyer.
Oh,
The
He's not a team,
Cape-
but he's
Cape
doing the
No,
best
but
he can.
I think he actually has people that work with
He's a
him.
coach.
He's not a one-man show,
You
I
should
don't
go when
believe.
we're at the Cape Conference, Greg, to his session and, ask him questions.
What's
He
that?
does
What
a
day is it
session.
on?
He does one on Friday and probably Saturday.
Good, I'll go to the
Friday.
Yeah.
I go every year I
Yeah,
go.
it's always pretty good.
I've been to Vic for the last 3 years.
All right, moving on. Michelle?
Overwhelming.
Hopefully he will
All right, 0521.1 grievance procedure. This one is pretty straightforward. This also came forward through the audit. All of the blue language has been added, and it is just new protected classes. This is by law.
Age is a new protected class?
Well, not
No, age has
necessarily.
been a protected
Yeah.
class.
Yeah, but there it is in blue.
Well,
because we never
maybe
probably thought
because
of
we
it.
haven't done this since '99, so maybe it's.
And that was ancient times.
Yes, people are a lot older now than they were in 99.
Now that we're all old.
Especially in
Right
age.
now.
Hold on, please. Greg?
I'd like to move the adoption of this policy for a first reading, and I'd like to congratulate the committee on once again incorporating rights that people have into our policy.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
It's a nice
To
one.
approve this for first
Nice.
reading. Is there anyone else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? It passes unanimously for first reading. Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. Yes, Bill?
Just a point, besides Vince, there's Patrice McCarthy. If you read the Cave Journal, she's a
Right.
staff attorney up
Yes,
there.
yes.
She works on
She's
those
excellent.
policies as well. So
Okay, yes, you're
here's
right.
another attorney.
And Bob Rader, the director.
And
Bob Rader, yeah.
Sheila, I can't remember her last name.
Sheila, they're all over good. We paid them for their service.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right, 8.5, to consider and if appropriate authorize an expenditure of an amount not to exceed $6,000 from the 1% capital reserve fund to modify door configuration in the boys' locker room at Shepaug Valley School to accommodate appropriate access for girls using the training room. Michelle?
I'd like to move we approve this, and then I'd like to comment.
Second.
All right, it's moved and seconded. Michelle?
I just would like to say, as somebody who had to actually go find a student at the trainer, it is incredibly uncomfortable having to walk into essentially the boys' locker room to get to the trainer.
And what is this, what will this do?
Reconfigure the doors so you no longer have to walk through the boys' locker room. It'll have its own, it'll have an entrance that walls it off of the boys' locker room.
I
So
can't
both
believe it.
genders can
Yeah.
enter.
Don, this is something you support?
1999?
Is there anything
Oh my
further?
gosh.
They're not all being,
Bob, anything?
they're all being trained to be future Aaron Andrews is what they're.
All right, it's been moved and seconded, is there anything further? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Passes unanimously, thank you. Is there any need for executive session?
There is not.
Motion to adjourn?
Hold
So
on.
moved. All those in favor?
Everyone buy the book.
Can I just remind everybody, if you're interested, 9:30 on Friday, we're swearing in our new SRO at Roxbury Town Hall. 9:45 is the lease agreement meeting, so I don't know if anybody
Yeah,
from...
anyone from the facilities committee who would like to attend is more than
Right.
happy
Where is
to
that?
attend, but, you know,
Roxbury, and then at 11 o'clock.
have better use of your time.
Okay, that's all I had to say.
Is there anything
And
further?
please answer the emails tomorrow so we can get a date.
Motion to adjourn, all those in favor say aye.
Hi.